Do Christians in our century need to keep the Sabbath and teach others to keep it also?
Okay. There are a lot of people who become very strong about it's the Sabbath, it's one of the 10 commandments. Now, it's really important that we remember that, people ask me all the time about the law of Moses. Are we under it or are we not under it? And my answer is a really resounding yes and no. And the no part is that as a direct commandment, we are no longer under the law of Moses, but we're, according to the New Testament, under the law of Christ, the Messianic Torah, the Messianic law. And as a result of that, what is the New Covenant or the Messianic Torah? That's all these commandments in the New Testament. And it's interesting, 9 of the 10 commandments are indeed repeated in the New Testament, but one isn't. And guess which one isn't? The Sabbath command. That's the only one. And I think it's important that you realize, that everyone realize that the reason for that is that the seventh-day Sabbath, I mean, we still have a Sabbath, it's the seventh day of the week, but the seventh-day Sabbath was considered the sign of the law of Moses. It says in Exodus 31, "You must observe my Sabbaths, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, so that you will know that I am the Lord who sets you apart. Observe the Sabbath, for it's holy to you." It's the sign, verse 17, 31:17 says, forever between me and the Israelites. So it's a Sabbath, the Sabbath is a sign of the Mosaic covenant.
Thank you.
And then we're under the new covenant, and so that's the one of the 10 commandments that is not repeated because it's not the sign of the new covenant, it's the sign of the Mosaic covenant. Okay, so that's what I would say. So no, we're not bound like Israel. You couldn't cook or pick up things or do stuff like that on Sabbath. That's not our life. However, remember I said we're not under the law of Moses, and yes, we are, in the sense that every principle taught in the law of Moses, every principle, the wisdom principle that governs every command in the law of Moses is applicable to us. And so the idea of taking a day off, one day a week, for physical rest and spiritual renewal, that's a great idea. That's a wisdom principle. It's something we ought to do. For example, in Romans 14, it says, "One man honors one day above another, another views them all alike. Let each man be convinced in his own mind." So it doesn't have to be on Saturday, but it has to be. We have to take a day for physical rest and spiritual renewal. We have to have our own Sabbath. And, so if someone wants to do it on Saturday, fine. A lot of Messianic congregations that I was part of met on Saturdays for worship and took that day for rest and renewal. I was at a church as an interim pastor that had Saturday night services. And so they took Saturday as well, and so they met for worship on Saturdays. The point is, we need a day for rest and renewal, physical rest, spiritual renewal. It could be Sunday. For most pastors, it's not Sunday because they're, especially if there's multiple services.
So true.
It's not that. A person could take their day of rest another day. So those are some of the reasons I would say. Are we under the law of Moses? No, you don't have to keep the Sabbath the way Israelites did. It's the sign of the law of Moses, not the sign of the law of Messiah. But should we keep the Sabbath? Yes, we need to have our own Sabbath, a day for physical rest and renewal.